Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be playing some Vintage. My friend Andrea Mengucci is heading to Prague. By the time of this recording, he'll be leaving tomorrow. So this is going to be some last minute testing for him. And yeah, as a good friend, of course, I want to help out. So the setup is going to be, we're going to be playing 5 different decks on my side of the table. Andrea's going to be playing his deck for Prague, which I think is Esper Lurrus. So I have lined the top 5 decks of Vintage up against him, and hopefully it'll be a fun one. I'll start out with my version of Esper Lurrus. This deck is very established in the metagame. Only very few flex slots. I like the one main deck Graveyard Hate. I like having no Urza Saga, no basics, in order to have as many colorless sources as possible. I like the One of Days for occasional blowouts. The bread and butters of the deck, that's basically going to be Bowmasters and Frog, grinding a little bit, punishing cantrips, pinging opposing Bowmasters. Then I have a couple of Lavinias, which are always good in a format with, you know, Mox and Force of Wills, etc. I'm very heavy on Forces here, which is not going to be good against Andrea's deck, but it's, you know, it's necessary in general with decks like Oath and Jewel around. Sideboard, I have a ton of stuff against Oath, a little bit of combo upgrade. Funnily enough, a very good card for the mirror. A split of 1 mana, you know, counter your Jewel and One Ring, and then you can also do some extra stuff like bounce a Wormcoil Engine, counter some triggers, counter something like Oath or not Through the Breach. That is definitely not a Vintage card. Underworld Breach, a couple of removals for upgrade, a little bit of more graveyard control with Nile Spellbomb and Crypt, and then for some, you know, pesky Hollow One draws, we have the Tabernacle. And of course, the Lurrus Companion, which we aim to grind away with, you know, recurring Bauble, Soul Guide, dead creatures, etc. So this deck is, I don't know, probably the deck to beat of the format. So, and we're going to be starting out with a mirror match today. All right, round 1 of the Vintage testing here. We're playing the Lurrus Mirror, and this hand does not look very good. I don't have colored mana. It's going to be too rough to expect to have enough colored mana in my top cards. This hand, however, is quite nice. So worth noting is, let me just quickly check. Andrea keeps 7 cards. This hand lets me cast Lurrus turn 2 with Force backup, which is probably good enough. I feel like I should get rid of the Pierce. This is not amazing, but I think it's fine. I think I want to be Wasteland Protector turn 1. I also want to play out my Lotus. There's something like turn 1 Lavinia. Bad stuff can happen. Oh, wow. Force of Negation here. So this is probably pretty good for me, because I get to daze a Force of Negation. So I should fetch Underground Sea. Maybe that's not true. I should fetch Tundra and daze... daze the negation. Is that even true? Yeah, I think it is. This is a big mana advantage, and I think this is too much to pass up. So daze the negation, resolve the Lotus, and then with the intention of buying back Lurrus next turn. The other thing I could have done there was let it happen, and then have, you know, force blue card, bring back Lurrus. But between, you know, the tempo boost and, you know, the recursion of the Lotus, I like this line. This line is not perfect at all, though. So let's try and put that into hand and cast it right away. In a perfect world, I draw a blue card here, but, you know, it is what it is. Opponent also did a good job. Let's say they have a white Swords of Plowshares in hand. This is just perfect sequencing, because they are luring me into thinking that this is a good play by not showing the white mana. So if my opponent just plows this, my opponent is in a good spot for a longer game. And then my mana... Oh, crap. I forgot to play my Lotus. Jesus. Yeah, this is not ideal. So, a good player who got his morning coffee would have had a Black Lotus in play. A worse player sitting here with nothing. So thankfully, my opponent had mercy here and let me play the Lotus from the yard. So yeah, now my opponent resolved Ancestral Recall. I got my Lotus, no harm done, but yeah. Oh, magic is so tough. Every time I turn on the camera, it's not pretty. So disaster here would have been if I had something like Lauren Revealed, where I would want the 3 mana from last turn, replay Lotus, la la la. But thankfully, it looks like we are in the same spot. I just looked silly in the process. Now, my opponent is representing Orcish Bowmaster, so I think I have to slow down this game. But maybe I have to... Yeah. Maybe I have to believe that Hardcast Force of Will, Mental Misstep is good enough to force the Bowmasters off the table. So that card... I wonder... So before I get a sneak peek of that card, my opponent casts Bowmaster. So I'm bad against double Bowmaster, but I'm actually decent here. Okay, so Plow is a good card. I feel like I should replay Bobble Out of the Yard. The thing is, if my opponent has that Bowmaster, probably just lose. No, is that even true? Let's see. If my opponent has second Bowmaster, that will enter ping for 1. But I draw the Plow. I think I'm supposed to pass the turn here. Let's have a look at our opponent's top. Wasteland. Let's see if there's a second Bowmaster. So here's second Bowmaster that I'm going to Plow. But unfortunately, I can't do it until my opponent has untapped. Yeah, let's see. So draw. Opponent chooses a target. Plow. So this, let's see. Negation, I'm bad against. Pierce, I'm good against. Okay, so it looks like I survived a terrible turn cycle and a terrible non-play of the Lotus, and we're still playing this game. Here's a Ponder. So worth noting is my opponent, if they had a Plow, they would have cast it a while ago. So maybe this is a good misstep target. I'll try to misstep here. It's tough because I'm actually turning on my opponent's Spell Pierce, but I already did that with the Plow, which led me to believe that it's a decent play. So the nightmare right now is opponent has something like a Delve spell, but I'm trying to isolate a hand of not very good cards. Let's see. This does look like a Delve spell, unfortunately. So that was basically also why I misstepped, because I was trying to make sure my opponent didn't get to the Delve spell. So, oh, let me get a little bit more lighting on here. Yeah, tough times. My opponent's now resolved Ancestral Recall and Treasure Cruise, and I'm trying to keep up with my Lurrus here. This is a pretty standard exchange of, of cards. Sometimes you just have to play your cards efficiently, be aware of what can happen, and then, you also have to, draw better than your opponent. That's just how Magic works these days. Lauren Revealed is a good card if I go Lotus cast Lauren Revealed. I think I like that. If my opponent has another Bowmaster, it's very bad for me. But I don't think I'm in a position to respect that. So let's try and draw 3 cards. Looks like a Force Negation to me. So in this particular scenario, if I go Bobble Out of the Graveyard, that is slightly better. But I think when you're behind, it's good to go for the best play. Let's see. Opponent fetches here. That's not good for me. because that means the opponent has two things to do. I think the moment my Lurrus leaves the battlefield, I'm losing this game. Psychic Frog and put Lurrus to hand, probably. Nope. Double Frog past the turn. So yeah, this is where it's going to be very hard for me to win, because I need to deal with those creatures, and my opponent has the Lurrus coming, so I need to change some stuff here. I wonder if I should... Yeah, so I think my only way to win this game is if I find my own, Ancestral True Stick Through Time type of card. So I think what I should do is bubble myself first because of the fetch land. Yeah, let's try that. So bobble ourselves, plow. Okay. Yes, we accept that. And then I draw one more card on the opponent's upkeep. And I'm basically giving myself a few more draws to find the Delve spell or Ancestral. But yeah, this is going to be very tough. I mulliganed, I force a wilt, and the opponent resolves some draw three, so I'm very behind here, even Frog connecting. I need an amazing set of cards to be back into this game, but yeah, let's play it out. Lurrus into hand, and worth noting, one of the Bowmasters are in the graveyard right now, so that card is coming back next turn. That'll shut off my draw engine, and all of a sudden that is a card I have to deal with, so yeah, this is not good. Now the opponent can go Lurrus, Black Lotus. Here's Strip Mine, which is fine. So now I need a big draw spell into a Swords to Plowshares for the Lurrus, and then, maybe we can play the game. Let's see. Ancestral Recall resolves. Here's a Demonic Tutor. So, funnily enough, we have game here. Let's see. My opponent's last card could be Spell Pierce, and I should probably respect that by casting Black Lotus out of my graveyard. So let's see. I need to plow that Lurrus, and I need to play out my own Psychic Frog afterwards, I think. So how do I tap here? Blue, black, Demonic Tutor, plow. Fetch Underground Sea, play Psychic Frog. And because the Orc Army is a 2/2, I can't do anything else. But I mean, I'm not really complaining here. That was an amazing turn. So I deploy my own Psychic Frog because I think it's more important to get that, card advantage back compared to disrupting my opponent's draws. But I'll do that from the next turn. Also, I've been very lucky. My opponent did not find a Swords to Plowshares in 25 cards. Opponent has one more card in hand than me, so what can I do here? I can't do anything. If I double block... Am I interested in double blocking? If I double block, my opponent will need to discard their hand. Let's see, is that true? Then it goes to a 3/4. Then I get to keep one of my creatures. Is that good for me? Do I get blown out by removal? If my opponent has a removal, kills Lurrus, Then we both discard a card. Yeah, I guess that is kind of bad, but I'm bad against removal anyway. Oh, I feel like this is very pivotal of the game. The opponent's getting a random draw out of this. No, I'll take the damage here, but it's actually, that was very tempting. Very, very tempting. It's tough because if Sword Supply is on top of my opponent's deck, I could have prevented this. Yeah, let's see. Opponent draws a card. So if I get plowed here, it's bad. If I don't get plowed here, I think I'm in a great shape. Even double Bowmaster. This is quite amazing. I feel like my opponent would have killed this card if they had the chance. So I can do this. Let's fly with the frog. I'm holding up these Bowmasters in case my opponent gets frisky here. I'll try and draw. Get in for one, draw a card. Soul Guide Lantern is not good. Feel like I should bobble out of the graveyard. Look at my opponent's top card. I can cast two Bowmasters as I alluded to. Wasteland is... You know, Wasteland will prompt me to play a Bowmaster, so... Let's see. Draw. Pierce, most likely going to be a bad card. So, let's see. If I... So, cast Bowmaster. Maybe I should have held open the Pierce. I don't know. Let's see. It looks like our opponent is hard casting Force of Will. We can't do anything about that, so... That works. Wasteland works. So now I'm curious if... Okay, the flying is good. So now I can kill my opponent's 2/2. Cast Bowmasters. Heal 1 to my opponent's 2/2. Get a damage. Let's see. If my opponent has a Bowmaster, I kind of get blown out. Wow. I'm so sorry for not playing out that Lotus, because actually the rest of this game was pretty high-level Magic. That was, that was embarrassing. Okay, so... I'm bringing in 3 awesome cards against creatures and 1 Nile Spellbomb because it's, you know, it's decent in these longer games where maybe you disrupt a little Lurrus, maybe you disrupt a little Delve. It's fine. It's nothing special. And I bring out all my bad counterspells and the Time Twister that is super random against another Bowmaster deck. So pretty standard sideboarding when it comes to the mirror match. The cool thing about that game was I was very behind, but I knew how I could get back into the game. And I feel like that's very important when you play Magic in general, that you don't just, you know, play cards. You actually know how does the opponent get out of the situation? How do you get out of the situation? The more you can be on top of those situations, the better you can take advantage once they arrive, in my opinion. So this hand is awesome. Lauren Reveal is a mana source here, which is quite strong. There's a little bit of removal, a little bit of access to Ancestral Recall, or whatever the case may be, and turn 1 Psychic Frog. So obviously would have been way better on the play. No Force of Will. That's how it goes sometimes. Let's see if this is Ancestral Recall. It's not. Okay. So I actually drew a worse Mox. I could see playing this one into a Spell Pierce. So let's see. If I play land first, I'm representing something. If I don't play land first, I could bluff that I have Wasteland in hand, so that if my opponent pierces the Mox, I then Wasteland. So I think it's better to do like this if I don't want to get pierced. That's the thing. I actually think I'm fine having mana sources in play. Yeah. Let's play that. So now I feel like I should fetch. I wonder what's most likely we need double of. It's probably double black. So let's play Psychic Frog. I don't want to get my Demonic Tutor pierced, so I'll play it next turn. I'll cash in my bauble before my opponent's turn. Have to do it because of how Orcish Bowmaster works, being a 2-mana card. My opponent fetches afterwards. Yeah, I was scared here that my opponent just took the turn, played the second land, and I looked silly. Oh, crap. I forgot I had the shuffle effect. Yeah, I should have looked at my own deck here. That was not good. You should, for sure, after I drew the Mox, you should look at your own deck. Because if you have a bad card, you can shuffle it with Lore Unrevealed. Yeah, that was bad. I get Wastelanded here. That's totally fine. I will tutor up another C, I feel like. Dig Through Time is amazing here. So now I can go Demonic Tutor. Is that good? Should be. I just don't want to get Spell Pierce, that's the thing. Another play I can make is put Lurrus into hand. Maybe that can wait. So maybe I go the Demonic Tutor. Since I only have 5 cards in the graveyard, I don't need to hold up double blue. Feel like Ancestral Recall would be a good one here. Oh, shoot. Flusterstorm. Okay. Flusterstorm is not standard, but I should have, of course, given it a thought. Okay. I still like my play here. It's been a long time since I've seen Flusterstorm out of a fair deck, because, you know, Flusterstorm does not counter Oath, does not counter Jewel, does not counter, you know, I don't know, Spheres out of a Shops deck. So it's not my favorite vintage card these days. So with the first Fluster out of the way, is it time to dig on my opponent's upkeep? It very well could be. My opponent plowed. Could also put Lurrus into hand here and give myself one more turn to find a mana source so I can play around Pierce with Fluster better. Okay, I'll put Lurrus here. It's going to represent a threat to my opponent. And I think with a card with a Delve spell, I think is reasonable to wait around. Okay, here's Bowmaster. Maybe I just kill the Bowmaster right away. I think that's fine. Let's get the Bowmaster off the table. It also builds my graveyard a little bit. So, thinking back to how I sideboarded, it's very possible my opponent has something like Nile Spellbomb or Soul Guide Lantern. And at that point, I'm not looking super smart. But if they don't have that, I am looking super smart, because now I have 6 cards and I can play Dig Through Time. Well, cancel that. I was about to say, now I have 6 cards and I can play Dig Through Time around Pierce, but I actually can. Okay, I even draw the land here. Okay. So the land is good for multiple reasons. The land is good because now I can keep the bauble around. So I think what I'm going to do now is cast Lurrus and then respond with Dig Through Time if I get forced. I think that's solid. Yep, fine. Tundra. Dig Through Time, everything but the bauble. I have Daze in my deck, so this is very high upside. I don't hit Daze. I do hit Force of Will. So I will force through my Lurrus here. Which card would I rather have in my deck right now? Stern Scolding or Force of Will? I think I want Stern Scolding in my deck. The other way around. I think Stern Scolding is worse now because the opponent already has Lurrus. So Force of Force. Good investment because I replay Bauble from the yard. look at my opponent's top card. Give them as few draws as possible to find Bowmaster. Nice draw. So my opponent will now resolve a Cruise. I draw Time Walk, also a nice draw, because it not only represents another draw step, also another bauble. So my opponent will look to tap C and Wasteland, exile the whole yard to hopefully find a plow here. And if they do, they are in the driver's seat. Okay, I guess this works. If they don't, I think I'm in the driver's seat, so no plow, please. My opponent sees my plow alongside a walk. Did my opponent find a source to plowshares, or is it hiding in the deck like game one? Black Lotus. The Black Lotus Lurrus is, you know, that works. But it's more important what the opponent has at the end of that rainbow, I'll say. Yeah, I must say I've really been enjoying these testing sessions. It's always awesome to play against top-level players. Because if I mess up too much, I'm just going to get smoked, right? So here's Lurrus. Here's Black Lotus. Here's Lavinia. Okay. Here's Wasteland. So this is awesome. Well played by my opponent. So my opponent is not cracking the Wasteland because this is not white mana, right? So, oh wait, did my opponent make a mistake? Now I can cast my plow. Does my opponent have mental misstep here? No. My opponent should have wastelanded here for sure, unless I'm missing something. So now I go plow the Lavinia, time walk. I'm not sure about this. I feel like if my opponent wastelands there, I can't cast any spells. Lantern. Okay, that's good. I'll time walk. I don't think I should trade here. I should cash in one more bauble. Okay, that was weird. So draw, more draw. Play that. Yeah, now I have some good plays. Yeah, I just got a little bit flustered by that play. So now I play Lavinia. My opponent is drawing Soul Guide Lantern. So let's draw one more. Guess I pass here. I'm not too worried about my opponent's Lurrus. So, okay, here's Bowmaster. That's amazing. Okay, my opponent's last card was Bowmaster. So, yeah. Okay, so I guess that's pretty good for my opponent. Let's kill their graveyard in response to draw. And now my opponent can kill off one of my creatures with the Orcish Bowmasters. And that's going to be the Lurrus. I draw a Plow. That's very skillful of me. Here's Soul Guide Lantern, getting rid of, I don't know, the opponent is basically just playing to make Treasure Cruise a slightly worse card at this point. Here's a 3/3 coming in. Here's another Plow. Pretty nice. Let's plow the Lurrus. I guess let's play out Black Lotus. Yeah, let's do that. So now let's attack for 2. Am I interested in trading 2 for 1 damage here? No, I should probably not attack. Yeah. My opponent let me plow and walk on that turn. I would have gotten locked if my opponent did not do that. Because I would have 0 lands. Yeah. Opponent draws a card from the land turn. I don't have Bowmasters. This is good logic from my opponent. They cannot beat a Bowmasters here, so I will Spell Pierce a Brainstorm. So now I'll take 3 more damage. I'm trying to stabilize by drawing either a Frog or... Oh, by the way, Frog was a good reason to hold on to the Lotus, actually. That was bad. I should have had a Black Lotus in hand here. And that's how Magic works. And should work, right? This is exactly why your choices will matter, and they should, because that's the most fun, right? So I think I let my opponent draw here. There's something about Hardcast Negation that is a bit annoying, but there's also my opponent drawing a Psychic Frog, and then I have to play a little bit differently. So Cycloran Reveal, I'm not scared of that. So my opponent has one magic card in hand. Oh, nice. Undercity Sewers. Okay. Yeah, that is a card that I'm missing sometimes in longer games. Opponent keeps their card. 3/3 gets in there. Underground Sea, not a good card. 2 cards in hand. I kind of get blown out by another Bowmaster, but I don't think I have the luxury of thinking about that, so I will plow that one before damage. Could have discarded, did not. Draw Wasteland. Okay, so I will definitely Wasteland Tundra. The upside here is my opponent kept a plow on top of the deck. That would be pretty nice. Could have discarded this land to Frog. I wasn't so sure. Okay, Fatal Push is a nice one. So my opponent also has more removal spells than just the 4. So, yeah, I'm currently losing. I'm losing to the 3/3. I draw a plow. That's funny. So, I guess plow that creature, attack for 2. Unclear who has burned more cards. I think I have, let's see, which card did I cast? I cast Dig Through Time. My opponent has cast Pitch Treasure Cruise, I guess. Casted, rather. Okay, well, I guess we're kind of even in this game. It has to do with who draws better. So I play the land out now because if I get Wastelanded, I don't play around Spell Pierce. I mean, it's not exciting at all to play out land number, or Mana Source number 10 or whatever, but you have to do it. Also, currently, all of my opponent's forces, Baubles, Moxen, are bad draws. Opponent finds the white mana here. If my opponent casts either Plow or Lavinia, I'm forcing. I'm forcing most things, to be honest. Here's Plow. So, countering that, drawing a most likely dead Spell Pierce. Yeah, 7 turns is a lot, so I think I need help from the top of the deck. Second Lavinia is not exactly that. I guess it gives me some insurance against the removal spells. I'm trying to think about if I draw Bowmasters, if I even play it. I don't think I do. Wasteland. Maybe I slow roll Wasteland. I don't know if my opponent's playing Urza Saga. But my opponent could be drawing white cards, of course. Yeah, maybe that's better. Filling it off a white source. I'm interested. Okay. Resource to Plowshare. So, funnily enough, that's actually a good thing for me. Unless, you know, the opponent unloads a lot of stuff here. I actually wanted my Lavinian hand to be a card. But of course, when my opponent can cantrip a bubble, it's still annoying. Opponent draws a card. Holding priority here is not good for me. Let me put it that way. Oh, wow. I get to Spell Pierce at Dig Through time? Okay. So I guess my opponent knows that the top draw here is good. Wow. That was a grindy slugfest too, but now I'm awake. Now I can play better in the in the coming rounds, so don't go anywhere. All right, guys, quick message here. If you want to have access to my deck guides, my strategy articles, whether you want to pitch me a sweet deck to play on the channel, whether you want to look into coaching or simply just want to say thank you for the content I put out, please check out my Patreon below and become a Baron today. Now, let's get back to the games. All right, next up we have Dredge. Dredge is the premier, I would say, aggro control deck of the format. Seems more like a combo deck with the way it plays out, though. This deck is looking to put, Hollow Ones, Narcomoebas, Icarids, Amalgams into play while casting Grief and blue pitch counters. We need to mulligan aggressively for Bazaar, so you need to either press the mulligan button or use Serum Powder until we see a Bazaar. And at that point, that card can even get wastelanded. That's why we play Noxious Revival. Once we get to activate Bazaar of Baghdad, we put Dredgers in the graveyard, and instead of drawing, we have the replacement effects of the Dredgers. Worth noting is Golgari Grave Troll, the biggest Dredger, is restricted. Got balanced, 5 years ago. So ideally, we're looking to keep a hand as big as possible with Bazaar. Maybe some Bazaar redundancy with a second copy or Noxious. We're looking for a counterspell or a Grief or both. And then we're looking to end the game early and often and put a lot of pressure on my opponent's starting hands, which is the number one strength of this deck. Sideboard, we're trying to deal with opposing Dredge players. We're trying to deal with Containment Priest, Yixlet Jailer, Deathrite Shaman, I guess, with Sickening Shoal. We're trying to deal with other hate pieces with Force of Vigor. On the play, we're looking to shut down zeros on the side of our opponents. And then we have a couple of Wasteland and Strip Mine in case, our sideboarding allows for it. I'll say it's kind of a luxury card. Sometimes you want it against Tabernacle as some kind of out. But I think my out against Tabernacle is going to be, Icarid Beats and not these cards. But let's see about that. I didn't give that full thought yet. So, yeah, that's going to be Dredge. Enjoy the match. All right, next match. I'm here with my Dredge deck. I have a Bazaar back that in my hand I keep. Opponent also kept 7, knowing the matchup, which is something to think about. I think when you play Lurrus, you need either Graveyard Hate or a Wasteland in your opener to keep a 7. I guess there's some, Fast Frog, Fast Bowmaster, Twister type hands that, are also in the range, but in general, puts a lot of pressure on the opener. Turn 1 Ponder I'm not particularly scared about, but I am scared about Black Lotus. So Black Lotus Bowmaster you would probably also keep. Hollow One is probably a good draw. Let's, okay, we did not get Bowmaster. That's interesting. So now I can discard Dredger. Yeah, probably Dredger, Icarid. I think that's better. Could have gone double Icarid here. Is that crazy? No, I need to prepare for getting, Wastelanded. So, play at Hollow One. Resolves. So, worth noting is I don't have any disruption here, and I don't have any Wasteland recursion, so lots of bad things can happen here. Also, my opponent shuffled on the Ponder. Could be keeping the hand on the back of the potential of Ponder Lotus. And Bricked. It's very possible. But this looks like I'm getting either Frogged or Bowmaster Twistered. Oh, Lavinia. Okay, so Lavinia is a card that basically says I cannot cast any more spells this game. And funnily enough, that's actually totally acceptable. Because I don't have any forces, and I already played my stuff out. So let's activate Bizarre here in response to the Icarid trigger. Dredge 5. Dredge 5. Put back Amalgam, Icarid, Dredger. Drain my opponent with Chill. Get Amalgams back. Exile a black creature. That's the Grief, because that doesn't have any text on it in the graveyard. Draw step. Dredge an additional 5. Drain my opponent. Yeah, this is crazy good. Yeah, would have attacked for 4. End of turn, I get back 2 Amalgams. And I'm bringing back a couple of Icarids. Oh, yeah, would attack for 7 even. Yeah, that's just stupid. Very, very strong game 1 against Lurrus. It's one of the biggest draws to this deck. Sideboarding can get messy, though. So I want the Sickening Shoals because that deck plays Containment Priest. The Mindbreak Traps are not that good. The Chills are not that good, in the sense that if I have access to my graveyard, generally I'm doing fine. On the draw, you can also get rid of a Grief. Grief is not instrumental, I will call it, on the draw. Force of Vigor. I actually don't think that's so strong. I think I should lean on Counter Magic when it comes to hate pieces. So do I prefer having Grief? Actually, Grief on the draw doesn't look that good. So maybe I'd sideboard like this and keep 3 Creeping Chills in my deck. And then what I will do on the play is I will probably cut the Chills and play Chalice and a couple of land destructions. That's probably not true. Maybe like just my Grief back in and a couple of land destructions. Yeah, this looks fine. So Dredge is just, it puts a lot of pressure on your opponent's opener, and that's basically why the deck is good. Because you cannot allow yourself to just get run over by a simple Bizarre activation. You need like a Wasteland or Graveyard Hate in order to compete. So yeah, pretty easy. You don't have a Bizarre, you click the Powder. It's pretty easy. Opponent keeps 7, always scary. No Bizarre, no Powder. And here's a Bizarre. So I need to believe that this Force of Negation will counter something like a Soul Guide Lantern or Nihil Spellbomb, and that's a way to get into the game. And then I have to choose between the others here, but it's quite easy. I'll just put the smallest Dredger back. When I don't have Force of Vigor in my deck, I don't care about the color of the Dredger. So here's Tormod's Crypt. My opponent did not play a land first. So I don't have to worry about Spell Pierce. This could, to be honest, this could be a Zero Lander or a Wasteland hand, but okay, it turns out it's a tap land. The nightmare scenario is if my opponent has Pierce or Fluster in that scenario. I'm going to draw this on my upkeep. I activate right away because I have Hollow One in my deck. And Grief. 2 good reasons. Double Czar. So right now I'm hoping my opponent's interaction is Wasteland. And I'm discarding these. Let's say my opponent had a Tormod's Crypt in play, then I would have to hedge a little bit and keep a Dredger and go kind of small out of the graveyard. Okay, opponent plays a land. Interesting. What's in that hand? I'll respond to the Icarid here. So I guess I'm getting Containment Priested here. Containment Priest, very strong. It resolves. Now I have to draw 2. Well, I don't have to, but I will. So draw, discard. Maybe I should hang on to a black card for Sickening Shoal. I think that sounds reasonable. So I'm not going to do that. And then I'm going to draw a card. Draw. So I need to find a Sickening Shoal before I'm dead here. Ooh, I got a bit punished here for discarding the Narc Amoeba. But I think I have to keep a redundant Bizarre here, because If I get wastelanded, my digging power is you know, non-existing. Yeah, this is going to be very rough. Because even if I find my Sickening Shoal, I don't think it's resolving, but I have to believe. So let's see. What I could do here is respond to the Icarit trigger. I'll try and think here. So if I draw 2, I get to keep 2 cards in hand. That means I have to go off Bizarre Redundancy. Yeah, I'm actually not willing to do that. I'll just take a draw step and activate. Here's Creeping Chill, which is very bad. That's a problem. So Force, Chill, Icarit, I guess. I did not Dredge one either. I did exile 1. Noxious Revival and 3 Bazaars. So, I mean, I had a lot of Wastelands covered, but I did not have Priest covered. That's a good one for my opponent, having, you know, Tormod's Crypt and Containment Priest. That's a good 1-2 punch. That's definitely a recipe to win the game against Dredge. Here comes the squad. Let's see if Mengu decides to pump the Psychic Frog. I could see that. Force Negation. Yeah, Force Negation is not good against Dredge. But if my opponent's discarding that card, he must have the Sickening Shoal covered. Yeah, I can't. Then I can't win. That's just wow. That's crazy. So what's my opponent's hand here? And should I Noxious Revival? Yeah, probably should Noxious Revival here and make sure my opponent draws a blank. Okay, let's try that. I don't think I can win this game if my opponent has played correctly. And that meaning playing correctly means having a card in hand that does something. Oh, wow. The dig through time. Nice. It looks like my opponent misses the fact that you can just pay 3 mana for Force Negation and counter my only out, and then I cannot win the game. It seems like there's no reason to see a dig through time of 7 bad cards here. I draw Sickening Shoal and I win the game. Protection Probe resolving. The opponent sees the Bizarre Redundancy, doesn't do anything at all. Unfortunately, I cannot respond here on high roll because I don't have enough cards in hand, so I have to let these resolve, have to go to draw step, have to activate my Bizarre. And it's now or never. Okay, so we lose game 2 here. Pretty standard stuff. Lose to double hate piece. Not too worried about that. Let's see. I add in the grief as I talked about, and then I can think about. Actually, my opponent just showed Tormod's Crypt. I should probably bring in the Chalice, and then I can have 1 Strip Mine for good measure to round out the deck. Now my opponent has showed at least 1 Tormod's Crypt, couple of baubles, full mocks, so Chalice is actually decent. The beautiful thing about this card in the Bizarre deck is either you have it in your opener, or you discard it to Bizarre, or you dredge it over, so it's never going to hurt you. I guess the games where you activate Bizarre, get Wastelanded, and draw it on the following turns, I guess that's the exception. On the play for game 3, Dredge versus Lurrus. Vintage testing at its finest. Let's mulligan. We have to mulligan again. We have to mulligan again. We have to mulligan again. We have to keep 3 cards. So, let's see. Am I allowed to play around anything here? What I could do is keep Noxious for wasteland removal and keep my Dredger. That's probably what I should do. Activate Czar. Get rid of these. Hope I'm getting wastelanded. My opponent kept 7 cards, so... I mean, my opponent obviously has something, right? So it's mainly what that is. Wasteland it is. So now I'm going to play this Noxious on my opponent's turn because they showed they're willing to have Force Negation in their deck after sideboard. Bazaar goes to the top. Opponent draws a couple of cards. I don't decorate and I don't dredge. But now I do because I can hit something like... you know, Narcomoeba into some... Yeah, exactly this. Exactly. So now at least I get some power into play here. It's not that bad. I have an Icarid as well. So now I'm putting on pressure on my opponent to have something like Tabernacle would be annoying. Something like Land Mox. Priest would probably win the game. But if my opponent has a, you know, a bad turn now, that's basically how I win this game. It's very important when you mulligan to 3 that you do your best to have a shot at winning the game. It needs to make sense in the context of what's in my opponent's hand. Because, you know, that actually gives you a shot here. So my opponent removes the Icarid here with the Lantern, which is awesome. Well played. So I'm not sure I have any more action than try and overwhelm that one. What's the best that can happen? Yeah, I should probably natural Dredge here. Very tough spot. So Dredge. I find Icarid and Amalgam. So actually now I'm forcing my opponent to pop the Soul Guide Lantern pretty well. And then I have a Bazaar and a Dredger to try and rebuild. But this is a tough one. This is a very tough situation. Because my opponent doesn't need much to just straight up win the game here. So this, unfortunately, has Containment Priest written all over it. And there it is. Very nice. So should I have responded there? No, I don't think so. I think this is fine. So draw Sickening Shoal? No Sickening Shoal. Let's attack for 4. Yeah, this game is probably over, but I'm very happy I gave myself the chance to win. Bizarre Dredger, Noxious Revival being highly competitive. That's pretty cool. Here's Psychic Frog, which will stop the beatdown. That's a very good card. Containment Priest getting in there. Solid. No Icarid. No dredging. Hollow one to draw. Hollow one to draw. I mean, it's not bad. So I don't draw Sickening Shoal. Then, okay, so discard, discard, discard. Do I play the 4/4? That's the question. Now I have to think about how many chills I have in my deck, and I think it's 0. Yeah, it's 0. 0 chills. If I play the 4/4, I will stop my opponent's aggression. But then, let's see, if I draw a card next turn, then I can not Sickening Shoal next turn. I'm trying to think about if this 4/4 actually does anything. It doesn't really once my opponent has cards in hand. Should I force my opponent to discard 2 cards? I don't think that does anything either. Maybe staying back doesn't do anything. That's the same logic. If I force my opponent to discard 2 cards... No, I shouldn't do that, because this actually buys more time. Alright, that's GG's. Second Priest is unbeatable. The opponent has too much time. Can fly over with Frog. And yeah, the opponent got me. Dredge on 3 cards was competitive, but yeah, he finally won one. Alright, on to the next one. Alright, now we have Mono White Initiative. Mono White Initiative is a deck that got injected into the format when White Plume Adventure and Seasoned Engineer were printed. Value, very fast clock. And then we try and build disruptive elements around it. Worth noting is that recently Vexing Bubble got restricted, and recently we had Witch Enchanter enter the deck, so a little bit of ups and downs when it comes to that. We have Cavern of Souls as a way to make Force of Will a non-factor. We have a couple of Thalias in this deck in the flex slots, alongside a Solitude and a One Ring. Thalia is not amazing in a format with Arcane Bowmasters, but it does the trick, lets you keep a bit more hands. Best card in your deck, in my opinion, is Archon of Emeria. It basically forces your opponent to not play Vintage, which is pretty big. We have some restricted disruption here. Mental Misstep, good against most decks, right? Can counter some like Cantrip or Plow or Dark Ritual, depending on the matchup. Vexing Bubble, pretty play draw dependent, but it always, is good against Force of Will. Chalice best on the play, Trinisphere best on the play, so this deck really wants to win the die roll, and yeah, let's see if I succeed doing that. Anointed Peacekeeper is a good one. Delay some combo decks, shut down Bazaar of Baghdad. Can delay anything because you get to see their hand first. I play more 4 main deck Plows, which is basically a nod to the Lurrus matchup. Obviously, that card is going to be terrible against some decks, but yeah, thankfully today we're playing against Lurrus. Sideboard addresses Graveyard. Upgrades against any creatures. You could play something more targeted like Archon of Absolution in the slot, but I actually like a card that kills every creature. And for Leylines and for an Allrod, because Coveted Jewel is a very dangerous deck. So yeah, let's get into the games. Alright, more Vintage Magic coming your way. I'm playing Mono White Initiative against the Italian Stallion on Esper Lurrus, and this hand is not keepable. No white sources. This hand is keepable. It's not, it's not exciting, but I think it's playable. So I get rid of a Plow. I have 3 mana. I go turn 1 Thalia, which, to be fair, is not anything to write home about. So here I'm just going to let my opponent, make a decision. I play out my Moxen first instead of my Plains. Cavern of Souls is a card that can make people do weird plays. Turn 1 Thalia, probably not going to be very good against the Bowmaster deck. That's kind of the deal. Oh, wow. White Plume Adventurer. So that is definitely something that I want to cast. Bad news is my opponent has Force of Will mana, so we have to play like this. White Plume. If we don't get forced, I'm probably winning this game, so really like that. My opponent can fetch, pay 1 mana for Force of Will, and make me look silly. Now, hopefully I get to plow some frogs. Yep. Another White Plume. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I don't think my opponent plays basics, so giving my opponent the first room is probably not that bad. And then hopefully I can contain my opponent with 2 plows that I exactly have enough mana for. So yeah, let's pass the turn. So there is some world where attacking with Thalia, my opponent discards a card, I kill the frog. I don't think I'm living in that world. That's basically the thing. Okay, so this is a bit scary, because, you know, cards like Time Walker are amazing. What else? I guess the Thalia has a lot of brokenness shut down, but then again, there's also Orcish Bowmaster, which... Oh. I think my opponent will give flying here, but if they don't, I have a tough decision. Okay, so the flying makes it easy. Opponent takes the initiative. I predict that my opponent does not have a basic. No basic. We see 3 colors. I've already seen Surveil Land. Basic Island does not cast Plow nor Frog, so it's not really interesting to play a card like that. So now I'm hoping that my 2 Plows will stabilize this game and I can ride the initiative into the sunset. That's the plan anyway. Here's a Wasteland, which is not bad here. Wasteland actually makes Spell Pierce into a live card. 3rd Plow, that's amazing. Alright, so I will attack here. Orcish Bowmasters is an incredibly annoying magic card. And that is exactly what we see here. So, pinging off the Thalia. Maybe I should Plow in response. Maybe I should Plow in response. Does it change anything? There's a little bit of force negation there. So kill that card. Thalia's dead. The opponent will chump block. Super annoying. So I think I kill the Bowmasters now and play around Spell Pierce. Let's try that. Ideally, my opponent, you know, puts counters on it and I kind of blow them out. But this is the same, right? Except now they get the chance to go into the Lost Well. So now my only hope is that my opponent has to lean on creatures and not just a Plow. Here's Ponder. If I get Plowed, my opponent will ride the initiative, and that's very annoying. If my opponent plays a creature, I can plow my way back into the initiative. So, very important turn of the game here. Thalia lining up poorly against Bowmasters is very annoying. So that card is mainly for other matchups, like, you know, the Grixis Breach of the world, the Oath decks, I guess to some extent. The Jewel decks. It's mainly to have more keeps in the deck, so that you don't have to have a 3-drop turn 1 all the time to be competitive. The bridge with Thalia into 3-drop is, you know, more realistic. Lets you keep more 6s and 7s. So let's see what this Ponder finds. I imagine Plow is an easy keep. So now I hope my opponent sees the bad news that if they're relying on creatures... Oh, crap. Okay. Probably cannot beat this removal spell. Probably cannot beat this removal spell. I feel like I have to draw a creature right now. Okay. So the opponent is running away with the initiative here on the back of a Psychic Frog, Bowmasters, and a Plow. Super reasonable. I'm not sure I had any other agency this game. I think I just played my cards, and it was not enough. And that's something you have to just accept when you play Magic. Sometimes your decisions will matter a lot. Sometimes they will matter less. So here's Lurrus in the hand. And my opponent is really in a commanding position. Let's see what this is. Maybe just cracking. Okay, playing Psychic Frog, sure. So my opponent's logic is I'll have to deal with both, and they would be correct. So let's kill that card. Dungeoneer. Thalia. So now my opponent can go... The good thing is, I guess, is my opponent has to chump block with Lurrus or Skeleton, but it's not pretty. Here's the Skeleton, here's the Lurrus, replay of Bauble. It's a 1-mana play. Another 1-mana play, opponent can draw some cards. And it's unclear that I have a shot this game. The One Ring. Interesting. Interesting. So, attack. Opponent chum blocks. Ancient Tomb. The One Ring. Draw. Pass. Huh. The One Ring protects me, but my opponent goes into the dungeon here. Finds a big creature, most likely. I guess I could get lucky. The deck doesn't run a ton of creatures. I did not get lucky. Here's a 5/5 Lavinia. I don't think I've seen that before. Opponent cantrips. Wow, and the thing is, my bread and butter way to get back into this game, like some plows, I've already drawn so many of those, and I'm still losing. It's kind of funny. Soul Guide Lantern. But funnily enough, my zeros are playable through Thalia, through the Vinia, rather, because of Thalia. Yeah, I'm still losing this game pretty handily. Lose a life. Let's see. Probably some initiative creatures we can draw here. Witch Enchanter. Terrible draw. Vexing Bauble. Doesn't do anything at all. My opponent shouldn't worry about this. Okay, gets countered. Let's see. Is this Witch Enchanter ever gonna get cast? I feel like I should play it as a tap land here. Has to turn. Opponent cannot attack with Lurrus. Can attack with the 5/5. No basic land still, funnily enough. Here's Bowmasters. Here's a big attack. Okay, I've seen enough. I have seen enough. So let's see. I like the Solitudes in this matchup. And there are probably a lot of cards here that I can do without. So let's see. I like Trinisphere on the play. I like Bauble, I like Misstep. So I'm basically looking at these Thalias. Let's cut those Thalias. I also feel like it's okay to keep slower hands against this deck. In general. So let's see. Chalice of the Void. Is that a card I want? Could see cutting Chalice here. Shuts off some Moxen stuff, but I also have Vexing Bauble for that job and Trinisphere. And all these cards are just, kind of solid. The One Ring is not perfect, but I think it's okay as a, mid-game trump. Okay. Let's try this out. Initiative is always interesting when the tables can turn. A card like Bowmaster's really doing double work there, killing a Thalia and having, being a 2-body card. That was super powerful. And then just bread and butter, force Plow. Psychic Frog. Yeah, that was just great display of that deck. Okay, so no play turn 1. Uncounterable Archon turn 2, which is fine, but also something that could easily get plowed. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a keep. You could also argue I should go Uncounterable Peacekeeper because it bridges into Dungeoneer better. The problem with this hand, though, is the land drop that I make. If I go turn 1 Cavern, probably should do that, though. I think my hand can play Magic without Cavern, but I'm not sure I can play Magic without Ancient Tomb. Of course, I'm talking about in a context of getting wasted. So, let's see. Right now, I'm hoping my opponent has a hand of Forces and Plows. Because that way, the Peacekeeper can delay my opponent. I can play Dungeoneer. Strand some Forces, strand some Plows. That's kind of the hope. Here's Wasteland. I like that play. Same logic. I can live without the Caracas. I cannot live without the Ancient Tomb, most likely. So right now, my opponent must know a lot about my hand. I named Human. I decided to play Cavern out as my first land. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of information being traded here. So now I'm going to play Peacekeeper. Peacekeeper's actually quite good here because it makes Plow bad in my opponent's hand. I guess as bad as it can be. Swords to Plowshares. Double Lavinia. So I named Swords to Plowshares. Pretty clear. Swords to Plowshares. So Peacekeeper, very good here, obviously. Let's see. So one has 7 cards. Found Underground Sea. Go. Okay, Mox is annoying. Because now my opponent can actually cast Swords to Plowshares. Let's see. Okay, this is a decent draw. I will say I should probably attack first. What happens if I attack first? Bowmasters can trade. Okay. Bowmaster's trading for the Peacekeeper. It's unclear if I want that. The Wasteland is a good draw because I can play Dungeoneer. It's not really going to disrupt my opponent this game, I feel like. So let's think about this. If I attack and my opponent goes Bowmaster, king for 1, double block, then maybe I'm just happy because I go Dungeoneer afterwards because those 2 creatures would be gone. Yeah, I guess let's do that. Opponent takes the damage. So I'm gonna get plowed regardless. Maybe I just play another Peacekeeper. Is that good? Let's try and play a Peacekeeper here. So that one gets plowed. I get to look at my opponent's hand again, most likely. Now I see the same cards. Okay. Make Lavinia into a 4-drop or make Bowmasters into a 4-drop. Lavinia doesn't do anything, so I name Orcish Bowmaster, I guess. Don't want to Wasteland because I have a 4-drop. It's been a while since I've played Initiative. This is cool. So now my opponent can play a 2/2, and that's what they're going to do. Then I'm going to play Dungeoneer, attack for unblockable. One card on top of their deck, so Mengu has a actual play next turn. So my opponent obviously could have drawn Plow, which would be very bad for me, but I think we take those. Don't want to play that Chrome Box out. Obviously Caracas is bouncing the Lavinia, something that I did not think about. Play Dungeoneer, find a Plains. Attack for unblockable here. Draw Cavern. Okay, Cavern could come in handy later. Play Plains out. Don't have any more plays. My opponent did keep a card on top. Demonic Tutor. Wonder what that will get. Just Ancestral Recall. Hope to have, like, draw multiple good cards. I can see that. My opponent kept a black mana here. So that tells me what? If I'm giving my opponent credit, I'm thinking it's Fatal Push. But if they pass the turn here, it's obviously not Fatal Push. So now yeah, I think I'm in a great spot here. Now put counters on that one. I play uncounterable Seasoned Dungeoneer. Yeah, I guess I'm wastelanding my opponent here. Seasoned Dungeoneer. Yep. It's gonna do it. Alright, so Slow and Steady won the race there. The Peacekeepers were amazing. Trinisphere, not the best here on the draw, I will say. But is it better than a Thalia? That's kind of that's the competition. Thalia is also not very strong on the draw, so maybe I should just keep Trinisphere and try and high roll a little bit. Trinisphere, I guess, is good against some, let's call them legacy hands out of the opponent. Game 3 here. Lurrus versus Initiative. Some solid last-minute testing for Mengu here before leaving for Eternal Weekend. Happy to help. I'm keeping this hand because I have turn 1 Archon, turn 2 Dungeoneer. Pretty standard stuff. I will say, with being on the draw, my Mox Pearl is more likely to get countered, so I will play it out first. If it gets pierced, I'll play Caracas, because the same logic as last time. I think I can live without the Caracas more than the Ancient Tomb. I have to high roll a little bit when my cards have a lot of colorless mana symbols. Another Archon. Okay, so actually I get to play the game here, which is cool. So the problem is my opponent can fetch and response and plow the Archon. And that's what's going to happen. And moving to the end step, playing technically correct. I am now somewhat weak to Wasteland, and there it is. So this is a pretty classic 1-2 punch against Initiative, where this deck kind of has an explosive turn 1, but if your Plow can, you know, take care of that, then Wasteland can kind of make sure I don't have a follow-up. That's one of the best ways to beat Initiative. Because you're kind of stranding cards in my hand. So now I'm praying that my opponent wants to play, you know, creatures out like Frog, but they don't give me that luxury. I'm obviously looking for mana sources here to get to play the game. That is a mana source that lets me play the game, so play Archon. If I get Hardcast Force here, I'm happy. It looks like I'm just getting plowed. My opponent doesn't even fetch in response or anything. Here's another good spot for the Surveil land. It's been pretty good in this testing session. I've seen it get fetched for value twice, and I've seen it be a bad tap land maybe once. Draw 3 here, sacking a Lotus. So, I mean, this is anyone's game in my opinion. I put in missing land drop here, but the problem is I also need land, so mana. Okay. I'm willing to get forced here. It's better than passing the turn. The engineer gets forced. I can beat some Psychic Frog draws. I cannot beat, Treasure Cruise, Dig Through Time. Yeah, exactly. I cannot beat these. Here, I get wasted. My opponent realizes that if I had to crack a pedal to cast a threat, just wasteland me out of the game here and send me packing. My opponent is a Lavinia deck, so I play out this Mox. My opponent is tanking hard on a Consign or Negation here. So this is interesting. My opponent thinks I can go play more 3-drops, so that's why this Mox has some value when it comes to answer cards that don't line up well against creatures. So Negation and Consign here. I guess if my opponent is really into the tank, the opponent could consider a Spell Pierce here to Time Walk. That may have been it, actually. But I like my opponent's decision of not piercing a Mox here. Here's Lavinia, but that's fine. I will plow it, I think, to use my mana a little bit better. Yeah, let's plow it. Plow Lavinia. My opponent should also be happy about that, because this is just one less card to worry about when it's time to win the game. Okay, so play out Black Lotus. That would have been impossible with Lavinia in play. Maybe I should have thought harder about the Strip Mine. I guess now I will. Tough one. Let's see if I can draw some action here. That is indeed an action card. So right now, Force of Will is going to crush me. I feel like I should play like this. I don't think I should sack my Lotus. I think if this resolves, the scenario is very good. So I shouldn't try and make the scenario better. I should try and make the scenario less bad if it does not work. I get forced, annoyingly, and now my opponent can play the Lurrus. Wastelanding my Strip Mine. So now, yeah, I could be in trouble here. I guess it depends what happens with the Solitude. My opponent decides that cards more important than mana. I like that a lot. Maybe I just respond here. Pretty all-in play. I'll try this one, because I can draw initiative creatures here, and it'll be great. I don't draw initiative creature. Lurrus is gone, but my opponent has the better mana. My opponent has better cards in hand. This is the problem. What is this? White mana, so I'm getting Prismatic Ending? Oh, boy. That's brutal. Prismatic Ending, so strong against, like, as a land destruction spell in the mid-game. But maybe this is the opponent considering Lavinia or casting some Soul Guide or something. That's what I'm hoping for. Prismatic Ending on the Lotus. Should I give them the pleasure? No, not going to give them the pleasure. Prismatic Ending, very annoying. Draw? Prey Ball. Is that even good? I mean, I guess I'd play Trinosphere. I don't know what kind of situation I'm trying to hedge for here. Also, now we maybe learn what the card was that the opponent tanked about earlier. Play land, pass. So, White Plume is obviously a good draw. Is this hardcast Force of Will? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I need to draw 3 drops from now until Christmas to have a shot this game. And I lose to the first frog that is drawn. Develop Mox on the Trinisphere, classic play. Go from 5 to 6 mana that way. Here's Anointed Peacekeeper. Okay, well, that card is going to get killed regardless. So I'm going to go for Swords to Plowshares. It's going to get killed end of turn. I don't know, actually. Is that how it works? How expensive is it under Trinisphere? I'll ask. I guess that, so now I'm gonna name, Psychic Frog. Am I? No, that's not really useful. Let's see. If I name Psychic Frog, it's 2 mana to give flying. I mean, maybe it's fine. So, yeah. I guess the rule that I learned back in the day was that Trinisphere is the last thing that applies. So that basically means it's a 3-drop, and because of Peacekeeper, and then the Trinisphere checks, and it's, just still a 3-drop. So now I can't cast any non-creatures worth noting. All right, that's going to do it for this match. I got defeated by Esper Lurrus playing Initiative. Let's see what we have up next. Quick moment here to shout out all the awesome Barons over at my Patreon. I'm slowly but surely building a nice community over there, and I wouldn't be without it, and I wouldn't be anywhere without you guys' support. So each and every one of you, thank you so much. And now, let's get back to the games. All right, next up is Underworld Breach, which is a deck that True Hero has popularized in Vintage. This is not my favorite deck in Vintage, but I thought it would be very relevant to use in a 5-deck set for Andrea to playtest, because I think this deck will be quite popular in paper. This is basically what I used to call a big blue deck, which is basically a blue deck that plays all available acceleration. This deck is looking to put together the combination of Underworld Breach plus Brain Freeze alongside either a Petal or Black Lotus to go kind of infinite, mill over your opponent's deck, and win the game. The cool thing about Underworld Breach is it's also just sometimes a value card that lets you replay, I don't know, Ancestral Recall, couple of Ponders, yeah, like a Pyroblast. And yeah, the card is also threatening to be a instant win. So this deck has a few combos. It also has Tinker into Bolas' Citadel, which lets us play cards from the top of our deck if we have a healthy life total. That's kind of a combo finish, very big draw spell. And then I made a tiny change. I removed a Wheel of Fortune from the deck and added the 4th Hull Breacher. I think Hull Breacher is decent as a standalone card in the format, whereas Wheel of Fortune needs the Hull Breacher to be good, so I didn't want to play that card. I would rather have the other ratio of 4 Hull Breacher and then just a single Twister sprinkled on top. We do have all the tutors, so in reality, we have 4 time Twisters, 4 Tinker, so that's kind of the logic I was applying. This deck is a 4 Ponder deck, which is, decent for keeping more hands, putting together more combos, but can also be caught by Bowmasters, so, it's not perfect. Single Dismember in the main deck as removal. This deck is trying to do its own thing mainly. Also, yeah, I want to talk about this one, Waterlock Teachings. So this is decent innovation, let me put it that way. It's not my favorite card, but, in games where you have a lot of mana, this card is some extra threat density. So you can say this is an expensive spell land that can go get, Ancestral, Brain Freeze, Hull Breacher, even a demonic or mystical or vampiric tutor, depending on the situation. Sideboard tries to address fast combo, graveyard, assorted creatures, blue decks, matchups where Tinker Citadel is bad, you could board into the Sphinx. And then a couple Nile Spellbombs to the graveyard and a Tabernacle for the aforementioned, army out of any bizarre deck. So, yeah, this is Underworld Breach. This is going to be cool. All right, this is going to be the last round. Andrea has to run after this one, so no dual action today. I'm sorry about that. We're on the draw here playing Grixis Breach, and I have never played this deck before, but it looks fun to play, right? Especially when you have a lot of restricted cards in your opener, so pretty happy with this hand. I can do a lot of things. So funnily enough, the Hull Breacher, the Mana Crypt, sorry. Yeah, I have some stuff here. Underground see the draw. I don't think that helps me at all. So let's think. Hull Breacher is awesome. And I want to cast this Ancestral before my opponent gets Bowmaster online. So some conflict here. I wonder what happens if I Crypt first. Do I get pierced? Probably. Okay, let's try that. That works. So, oh wow, I have to remember my opponent's a Flusterstorm gamer. So, play Jet. Play Volcanic Island. No, that's no reason to do that. We should do this in case we get Wastelanded. And then on my opponent's upkeep, I fire off Ancestral Recall, and that will get around Flusterstorm. My opponent is taunting me here, or whatever you want to call it. Trying to lure me into playing into Force Negation. So I'm not going to bite on that one. I'm going to let my opponent surveil. I'm also going to let my opponent untap here, because of Force Negation, and then I'm going to cast Ancestral Recall. Worth noting is this Vamp can get flustered, but wouldn't have gotten pierced. Let's see. Should I Vamp now for Tinker? If I Vamp for Tinker, then I can play a setup turn of either Pondering or Hull Breaching. What if I get flustered? Maybe that's fine. Okay, I'll try and cast Vampiric Tutor now. Search for Tinker. And then I think I should play a tap land here to be better against Wasteland, because I want to get into a spot where I have Aeroblast backup. Should I play my Hull Breacher out or wait? I think I wait. Yeah, let's wait. Theoretically, I can go get Basic Island. My opponent already made the land drop, so let's see. Let's see. So, also, this is going to confuse my opponent a tiny bit. That I play out the Hull Breacher now after having resolved a Tutor. Now they're going to be worried about Twister a little bit more. I think I should attack first here. Here's a Brainstorm, not bad. Yeah, let's get in there with the Merfolk Pirate. And then I cast Tinker, already having made my land drop, which is giving my opponent a lot of info. I'm ready to Pyroblast a Force. And I'm ready to lose the counter war to something like Fluster, but I think this is decent. This is decent, asking of my opponent. It always makes me wonder here that, Fluster was on my radar early, and I end up playing into it a bit later. Maybe it could have played better. A play like that is putting a lot of pressure on my opponent's hand. But they're also very likely to have it. And now I sack my own Mana Crypt, I get wasted. Yeah, this is not amazing. Let me put it that way. Draw Probe. I think attacking first is better. because it's like a way to get in the damage around the Bowmaster, and then I can, you know, respond a little bit later. So let's brainstorm on response, try and find some mana sources. Wow. Very nice. Okay. Okay. My plan did not work at all. That would be a pity to say. I'm not sure I should cast this probe. What's the... I'm trying to think about the reward for casting it. If I find Urza's Saga, I get to develop it one turn earlier. That would be kind of cool. Tough game. Tough game. Let's see how my opponent recovers here. The misstep was a brutal one, because the Brainstorm was kind of my hedge against that play. And there's the pseudo punishment for oh wow. Yeah, that is indeed a punishment for not probing. That his member is also good, and wow. Yeah, this is not good. Alright. Okay, lesson learned. It's good to probe in that spot for numerous reasons. I can only think about the Saga, so that's why I didn't do it. And now Dismember, funnily enough, I remember when True Hero started playing this deck, this was for sure a main deck Fatal Push. I can remember that for sure. So funnily enough, we're getting trounced by Lavinia here. Lavinia and Wastelands. So now, what should my opponent tutor for? Unclear. These cards are not playable, I believe. These cards lets me ponder again. Develop a land, ponder again. Is that good enough? Or... yeah, maybe. 10, grow. Not ideal, not ideal. So, I get ping to 9, attack to 4. I can then dismember and play Hull Breacher next turn. Is that how it works? Think so. 9. Nope. Get attacked. I don't think this is good enough, actually. I miscounted 1. So let's see. I take 6. Then I can dismember for 2 life. Down to 1. Block 1 and lose. Yeah, this is not good enough. Okay. Tinker with 1 backup was not enough. Yeah, finding... I don't think I did a great job finding the correct spot there. I think that's how I would put it. Also, sacking the Mana Crypt had long-term bad effect on the game. So basically now I'm cutting the top deck tutors and the bad negations. The singleton negation, rather. I'm adding some removal spells, and I'm trying to think about if I also want Dismember and or Abrade. Yeah, I don't like the Time Twister against the Bowmaster deck. But which removal spell do I prefer here? I think I need Abrade for crossover, you know, kill an onboard Graveyard Hate Piece. So while it does not kill Psychic Frog, it's still a good card because it, you know, kills Lavinia, kills Soul Guide Lantern, stuff like that. Okay. Yeah, so that game was... So I should have done a better job asking myself, what's in my opponent's hand when they're not developing the game? They obviously have, you know, interactive stuff. So the advantage I got from the early Ancestral and Mana Boost, I threw away by casting Vampiric Tutor, casting Tinker, and losing the Counter War. So pretty good lesson there to not necessarily ask the tough question because it's so unlikely to not work, right? So maybe I probe here to educate my ponder further, both getting 1 card deeper and seeing my opponent's hand, of course. Force of Will is not bad, so opponent has a weird one that can punish mana bases. I think I'm okay casting this Ponder. Pedal is not good. Top is good, though. Play Ruby, play Sensei top. And now my opponent's mana denial plan is... Oh, yeah, slight... Yeah, I guess the opponent should just have wastelanded there. But I was about to say my opponent's mana denial plan is now not the best. I think I'll look on upkeep. The third card down could be a great one. It's not a great one. So maybe let's draw the Force of Will. That's probably fine. So I'm also getting wasted again, so I should let that land get killed because I have red on my Mox. Let's have a look. So there's a mana source. Probably just want to play out that Pearl. My opponent sees Force blue card. So let's see. Wasteland gone. Strip Mine gone. Tormod's Crypt. You got it. Draw Mox. I guess I have a look. Could have an Urza's Saga as the third card down. I don't. I have a Hull Breacher. Not bad. Huh. Maybe I... Wow. Yeah, I made a misplay there. I should not play that land. It's very rare, but I should not have played that land. Because I know I'm not making my land drop next turn. So that was a bad play. If I just get wasted now, it looks super silly. Okay. Not the tightest not the tightest play you're seeing today, but I guess I jammed that Hull Breacher. Jam. Sewers is gone. Opponent has those 4 and 2 unknowns. So funnily enough, the Lavinia is crushing me here. The interaction with the... Let's see. 1 copy of Dismember in the deck? Yeah, the 1 copy of Dismember in the deck is crushing me here. Any other removal spell I would not care about. This is kind of a problem. Not my favorite card to force a will in the world. Opponent forces pitching Psychic Frog. Opponent uses the logic of, if it's good for me to force, must be good for them to force back. These cards don't do anything. I guess I'm attacking here, trying to play into the narrative that this Lavinia is crushing me, which it kinda is. Getting my opponent to 13. Cannot cast Dismember. Cannot cast Breach. I can't remember when I looked. Okay, so that Mental Misstep is an actual magic card. That's good to see. My opponent can put Lurrus into hand, take 3 more damage, then play Lurrus and start Bauble. No, the Bauble doesn't work. Okay, well, I guess there's somewhat of a game here. So I draw the Mental Misstep. I get... Wow, wait. My opponent did not put Lurrus to hand. My opponent did not put Lurrus into hand. Okay, very bad spot here for me. Ancestral Recall, that's a good one. Mainly because it clears the bad cards from the top of the deck. So now I'm expecting my opponent to play the Bowmaster. Oh, wow. Did I just get... Did my opponent just get me? Or is it a force of negation that my opponent is not going to give up on? Yeah, I'm going to do this. My opponent has a Bowmaster. I can't really do much. Well played, opponent. Well played. That was well played. That's what I've been tricked by before. Yeah, great play by the opponent. Slow rolling, making me look silly. Oof, what a play! All right, let's try the 5th match. It turned out Andrea did have time, so let's go. All right, last deck of today we have Jewel Shops. Jewel Shops is a very, very dangerous combo deck that uses Mishra's Workshop to power out the One Ring and Coveted Jewel. For redundancy, we have Metamorphs to copy jewels. Metamorphs also pitches to Force of Will and can do some cool things on the opponent side of the table. One of my favorites is copying an initiative creature. Another one would be copying an Atraxa out of Oath. This deck runs a ton of mana sources, including 4 Grim Monoliths and a couple of keys on top. So for those who are playing a lot of Legacy, this will look a bit like the Mystic Forge deck of Legacy. We're aiming to win the game, actually win the game, after taking infinite turns with Time Vault, with our 1 copy of Restricted Ursa Saga and 1 copy of Restricted Karn. Karn can go and get a Wormcoil Engine. You can copy that with Metamorph, and the game is over. Sometimes, if you're unlucky and your bottom 2 cards of the deck are like, I've had a game where my bottom 2 cards were the 2 keys. Those games can get a bit complicated, but once you draw your whole deck, I was able to, in that specific game, play a Wormcoil Engine out of the sideboard from Karn, copy it 4 times with 4 Metamorphs, and then with a Tolarian Academy, bounce all of my opponent's stuff with 4 Sink into Stupors. So you have to get a little bit creative sometimes, but it's generally not a problem. This deck is fast. This deck has Force of Will. It's scary, right? Sideboard, this deck is trying to address other fast combo decks. This deck is trying to address hate bears like Oof, Lavinia, and the Archon. It has a plan B against decks like Lurrus, with the Wormcoils and Masticores. Masticore is also an answer to Null Rod, which is a big problem. A couple of defense grids to shut down the infinite forces on the side of the opponent, and then some needles for bizarre matchups. So yeah, let's get to it. All right, last vintage match before I'm sending Andrea off to the Czech Republic. I'm playing Jewel Shops. I'm on the play, and this hand looks good. It's a bit all in, but I mean, we're here to play. So let's see. Black Lotus, Grim Monolith. Let's see. Black Lotus, Grim Monolith. Yeah, I'm looking for a way to have, mana post getting forced, basically. Let's see. My opponent's already tempted here, so who knows? If I get forced here, I just play the key and pass and hope to draw any mana source to get back into the game. The idea here is to go Grim Monolith, and it's going to resolve, because now my opponent is going to counter what's at the end of the rainbow, so to speak. Then I play the One Ring now, and if that gets forced, then I play the key out, so I actually have sustainable mana for the next turn. So this will get forced. There's no doubt in my mind. So that gets forced. I then play a land and a key. And then I basically give myself the chance. After asking the tough question, I'm basically giving myself the chance to play Magic. So if I draw land, I have a draw 2. If I don't draw land, this is going to be a bit slower. Lavinia and Bowmasters are the enemies. That is not a land, so I think I have to pass. Lavinia is incredibly annoying. Bowmasters is actually beatable now because of Metamorph. Ancestral Recall is a good card. And we'll see what's up here. Generally, with a deck like this, the combination of your strength to overwhelm early and go back-to-back threat, that's where that's why the deck is good. But if you're, have too many threats, oh wow, I forgot about this card. That's so good. Wow, that's good. Opponent thinks it's over, which I'm very close to believing. I think I need to draw exactly that card, then get counter, and then, get lucky. So now, has to turn. 1 mana source in play. This is not pretty. This is really not pretty. Opponent with the fluster. So, pretty easy dispatch here from the side of my opponent, game 1. Now there's a little bit of cat and mouse when it comes to how to sideboard, so let's see if I can do anything cool. Trimming jewels at least. I can get rid of Karn. Let's see. So I like the defense grids. I like the worm coils. I like some number of dismember. And then I need to play one more card in my deck. Maybe the Masticores are good against a Lavinia deck. Need to have one more card. Yeah, maybe one Masticore is fine. Could have been one Dismember as well, but I think those overlap a reasonable amount, and then this kills Lavinia better in a game where I don't have 3 lands. I love I love that explanation. It's not to brag. It's funny. It's not necessary to clarify that. But it's funny. The most polite guy in the world is obviously not trying to brag. It's so funny. So I'm keeping this hand because of exactly Ursa Saga. So my dream is that this Soul Ring gets countered because my opponent thinks it's my only way to, activate turn 2, and then I, have the Ancient Tomb for the blowout. So force my Soul Ring, and we have a game. That did not happen. So now I'm just scared of getting wasted and losing the game horribly. Okay. I see where this is going. Okay. Nice Black Lotus. So, let's see. I should probably play Ancient Tomb because that's the one I want to get. Wasted. Now I actually want to get wasted a second time. So now I want to look like somebody who's trying to bridge into Worm Coil or Masticore or Jewel, I guess. Andrea did not take the bait here. The One Ring is an amazing draw. Dodges Fluster. Opponent does not play Pierce. So, Consign to Memory or Force. I feel like I have to jam it. But then again, what kind of hand is my opponent keeping if it doesn't have a Force? So I have Vexing Bubble, Trinisphere, couple of defense grids. But I'm also getting Lavinia at next turn, so there's somewhat of a conflict. What happens if I play Metamorph with the intention of copying a Soul Ring? Is there a universe where that gets consigned? I think I'll have to... I think I should try this. I think I'm losing this game pretty hard, so I'm willing to make a quote-unquote bad play. So now I go Workshop, One Ring. Consign is the nightmare. Force is the expected outcome. All right. So I should probably play the Lotus. Yeah, this is... I played the extra Soul Ring to give myself a chance to power through. Like to give my opponent the impression that the Wasteland and me trying to copy Soul Ring represented a mana weak hand, but you know, it wasn't close to working out. So Lavinia is amazing because now whatever if I draw some big cards, they don't do anything. Now I have to make a copy of my opponent's Lavinia. Yeah, I guess I should just pass. Problem here is I'm behind on life, so attacking with Lavinia doesn't accomplish much. Here's Psychic Frog. I can also make a Psychic Frog, funnily enough. Not that that's any crazy play. So now I'm looking for stuff like Wormcoil Engine. That card is uncastable. Really wish that was a Wormcoil Engine. Let's see. If my opponent attacks with Frog, I should probably try and stall this game, even though I don't like my odds in a game like that. Not playing the land because City Traders... Yeah, this is terrible. This is terrible. Looks like I got a severe spanking today. I basically had no chance. My opponent has 5 cards in hand. I'm not going to do anything about that. Opponent with the draw. Passing here. I don't see it, I must say. Think into Stupor is a magic card. Theoretically. So what happens if I sink into Stupor onto the Lavinia? Attack. The problem is, I can only win if my opponent has more or less nothing. Guess I'm beating some forces. Let's see. Okay, so I get to draw here, maybe. Here's Bowmaster. My opponent is unlocking Force of Will in hand now, which is not good for me. Can I do anything smart? I don't think so. I can bounce my opponent's Lavinia before they get... Yeah, let's do that. So... Nope, I can't. I only have 2 lands. Wow. I made a bad mistake here. I should have played out the land, because I knew I was going to go Combat Step, Sink into Stupor. Ah, okay. The mistakes definitely don't help. He's not a good card. So I have to play this land. Let's see, like this, sink into Stupor on that one. And then I have to play my Jewel. Yeah, I got destroyed. Not much to say. Opponent played well. I made a few mistakes. And yeah, that's how Magic should be. So super awesome vintage testing. I loved running through a lot of decks. Some of these decks I haven't played in a while, so it's always fun to get rid of the rust. But I made some very bad mistakes, but I had a lot of fun. That's the most important thing, and I hope you guys did as well. If anybody of you are going to Proc, good luck. I hope you have a fun time down there. The Eternal Weekend is great, and I'll be doing the coverage on the weekend, so I hope to see you guys on camera. And yeah, as always, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you back next time.